Does it feel like you and your man are more roommates than lovers? When every other evening ends up with you feeling frustrated and hurt that he's not being the romantic, spontaneous guy you fell in love with? All while he sits there on the couch, just watching TV, doing nothing? Wouldn't you just want to burn down that frustrating piece of furniture and get him to chase you like he used to when you first started dating? And shower you with love, affection, and sweet little romantic gestures? To have him spoil you with tiny gifts? Not expensive ones, but small, meaningful, romantic presents based on subtle, little-known details that only he knows about you? Or simply have him be there for you when you need him the most, patiently listening, not judging, and holding you tight in his arms? Because between you and me, you're tired of him not really listening, right? While you're laying your heart on the table, telling him everything you think and feel, he just nods his head indifferently or gives you simple, straightforward answers that aren't really saying much. Wouldn't you want to bring back all the intense love, burning passion, and unconditional romance back in your relationship or marriage, and have your man bending over backwards to please you, cherish you, and give you his undivided attention? Hey, my name is Chris. After working as an underground relationship counselor for over 20 years and helping thousands of couples around the world rekindle their lost love and enjoy healthy, exciting, and romantic relationships, would you be curious to know what I've discovered about reawakening any man's inner Prince Charming, even if he's acting completely disinterested and so aloof that you think you might have lost his love forever? You would? Great. See this puppy here? His name is Milo. I've discovered that cute little Milo over here holds the secret to reigniting the flame of romance in any man's heart, regardless of how cold, distant, unromantic, or stubborn he's become, and even if it seems like he's settled in the relationship. And don't worry, this isn't your regular and a bit offensive how to train your man like a dog nonsense. After all, I'm a man and it would be weird for me and my ego to say such things. It has nothing to do with manipulation, changing who you are, any sort of trickery, or adding drama to your relationship. I will tell you though, this is a very controversial presentation. I've had people say it completely changed their understanding of men and relationships. So unless you really want to learn the truth about sparking intense, undeniable feelings inside a man's heart, I suggest you leave this page right now. The fact of the matter is, bringing back the romance in your relationship or marriage and unlocking the floods of romance and desire in your man's heart really all comes down to one little known secret that I'll reveal to you in just a sec. Let me explain. Remember that cute puppy I introduced you to a few moments ago? There's one particular thing Milo has in common with your man. Can you guess what it is? Well, it's the couch. Milo loves the couch. It's comfortable. He can just lay there all day long with no stress whatsoever. It's just part of his lifestyle. Your man sees the couch kind of the same way. However, let's stop thinking about it as a piece of furniture for a moment. Fact of the matter is, the couch symbolizes something deeper. It's a symptom of his behavior. I call it his habitual relationship comfort zone. It's a dark, cold place where his daily habits reside. Things like washing up, eating, watching TV, having a casual conversation with you, maybe doing some relationship chores, but nothing proactive. He doesn't feel the urge to pursue and do romantic, sweet gestures because he got used to this lifestyle with you. The problem becomes thus getting him off the couch, or in other words, getting him out of his habitual relationship comfort zone. So how do you do this? Well, how would you get Milo off the couch? You certainly don't do it the way I first did it. I tried punishing him, pushing him away with my bare hands, and even kicking him out of the living room. None of that worked. Some tricks worked once or twice, but he'd always get back on the couch sooner or later. Especially when I wasn't home. He was one lazy dog, I'll tell you that. When it comes to your man, all of this is like trying to reason with him, getting out of your way to do romantic stuff together, planning your way back into his heart through different activities and hoping he'll eventually be the one initiating these sorts of things. Maybe you even tried convincing him to go to a relationship counselor together and he flat out denied the idea. If you're like most of the women I've helped, you probably tried those things already and ended up with your man annoyed, angry, or even pushed him further away. Nothing worked with Milo until I applied this weird puppy training secret. I could see that something changed in him. Every time I came home, he just rushed at my feet with a ton of energy, basically begging me to go out and play with him. From me dragging my dog off the couch and literally begging him to be more active, we got to the point where he was proactively initiating things. Every time he saw me, he had a huge surge of energy that got his heart and body pumping with joy and excitement. It was like an instant trigger of happiness to him. Now, when you apply my little puppy training secret to your man, you'll trigger every cell in his body to glow with love for you. He'll feel a burst of energy and internal motivation every time he sees or thinks of you, to do fun, exciting, and romantic things, so he shows you how much you really mean to him every single day for the rest of your life. This secret is like a magic trigger in your man's heart that automatically activates whenever you're around and gets him off his feet and into a frenzy of complete lust and desire for you. Sounds good? Great. Just make sure you listen carefully to every word of this presentation. Because although this strange puppy training secret will reignite the spark of passion, romance, and desire in your man's heart within days, most women find it a bit unconventional. Yet it's so effective that the guy you have your heart set on won't be able to imagine living his life on the couch, wasting precious time that could be spent loving and romancing you. Because all he sees as joy, happiness, fulfillment, and pleasure, he'll also associate with you and only you for the rest of your life. First, we need to talk about the number one enemy that mentally blocks your man from offering you the kind of love and exciting romance you truly deserve. You see, I wasn't always an underground relationship expert. It all goes back to my childhood. "Do you even love me anymore?" asked my crying mother in the kitchen where we used to eat together like the happy family we once were. You could see through the tears how she was fighting tooth and nail, desperately trying to get the marriage back on track. My father was calm, cold, distant, and if I didn't know how much they used to love each other, in that moment I could have sworn she was just a stranger to him. I was a lonely 12-year-old kid who just sulked in his room, silent, confused, not being able to understand what was happening and why they were arguing. But I didn't need to understand or see their fights, because I could feel the coldness between my parents, the pressure and how tense everything was between them. He never hit my mother, but I could see the pain in her heart through her sobbing eyes. As much as one tries to hide it, a kid feels what's happening. Every time they'd argue, I used to call it mommy and daddy time. Yeah, it was that bad. They regularly sent me to my room, thinking I wouldn't hear everything. And while I was pretending to do my homework, I could feel how my dad was stabbing my mother's heart. Because all of the tension and unhappiness surrounding my family, I couldn't focus on anything, especially school. And every time people asked me what was wrong, I would just bow my head, turn around, and go the other way. But only I knew the hidden pain that kept growing in my heart. What was even worse, I secretly feared that it was all my fault, that all their love and romance faded because of me. And at times I'd cry and wish they'd never had me. Later in the argument from the kitchen, I heard one word that I couldn't comprehend back then, but that I later realized to be a living hell for a child. Divorce. I went into the living room, looked at the couch like an eagle looking at his prey, and said decisively, "It's your fault." But what was it back then that made me act in such a strange way? Fast forward 25 years and over 1,536 relationships rekindled later, I understood that it was that moment I had discovered the number one enemy when trying to reignite the flame of romance in a relationship or marriage, even when your man seems to have lost all interest. And it all comes down to the common piece of furniture you may be sitting on as we speak, your couch. Right now, it represents everything wrong with your man and relationship. Basically, the couch is the enemy. Sounds weird, right? In other words, the habitual relationship comfort zone is the enemy. Does it make more sense now? Okay, think about it for a sec. Aren't you tired of seeing your man embracing the couch every evening, watching TV or playing on his stupid phone or tablet, completely oblivious to you and what's going on around him? Doesn't it seem like the only place he's still energetic, romantic, and passionate is in your old photo albums? Truth is, those feelings are still inside of him, alive and well. He's just channeling them on the wrong things. TV shows, hanging out with his buddies, playing games, watching sports, or whatever else he might be doing that doesn't involve you. As with all good things in life, the romance, passion, and excitement are outside his comfort zone. Shifting to that point results in him being proactive about you, your love, and the relationship. He'll cherish you again and pursue you like he did in the beginning, when you were madly in love with each other and nothing else mattered, because he'll remember how good it feels to gently hold you in his arms again, and he'll never want to let you go. In a few moments, I'll reveal how to shift him out of his habitual comfort zone and into a place where you are his only source of love and happiness. So he finally opens up, honestly speaks his heart out, carefully listens to every word, and feels an overwhelming desire to be romantic, caring, and charming with you and only you. And it all comes down to the little-known puppy training secret that you'll be able to use to respark the romance starting today. The funny thing? I discovered this secret along with my mother, at just the age of 12. The painful truth is that my parents got separated. I, of course, stayed with my mother. Only later I'd understand the difficulties this woman went through being a single mom. I suffered. For the first time in my life, I had to split my time and emotions between my parents. On the outside, it may not sound that bad. Heck, maybe you were lucky enough and didn't have to go through the same nightmare I did. But trust me, from a child's perspective, it's living hell having to speak separately with your parents, one by one, instead of sharing beautiful moments together as a family. One day, while I was out with my mom and Milo in the park, In the native tone of a 12-year-old kid who doesn't understand relationships, I asked her, "Mommy, why can't you make Daddy be nice to you? The way you make Milo bring back the ball?" With a sad, shaky voice, she replied, "Oh dear, if it only were that easy." However, the look on her face betrayed the tone in her voice. I could see how this sparked an idea in her mind, and I saw her face light up immediately. We rushed back home, and she excitedly started researching something on the computer. I couldn't tell what. One night, a few weeks later, I went into the living room, and there he was. My dad in a suit with roses in one hand, firmly holding my mom's waist with his other hand, and kissing her passionately like there was no tomorrow while telling her through the kisses how much he loved her. Yes, they got back together. But more importantly, my dad finally remembered, realized, and reacted to the conclusion that my mom was the woman of his dreams, and he didn't want anybody else to spend the rest of his life with. Ever since, he's been going out of his way to cherish, appreciate, and make my mother feel loved and happy. Fast forward to the present. The happy old couple up here? These are my parents. They're in their 70s, married for over 40 years, and every other day I visit them, it's like they're still in their honeymoon phase. Seeing a 74-year-old man going to the garden, carefully choosing that perfect daisy, slowly walking back to the house, trying to hide the daisy behind his back, and when he offers it to my mother, her eyes fill with joy and love. Sometimes she sheds a tear. Not a, "Aw, that's so sweet" tear, more like a, "I'm so happy I got the chance to grow old with you" tear. I couldn't understand at the age of 12 how their marriage made such a fast U-turn. I did feel that, in one way, I helped my mother, and just didn't know how. All I remember is that next day she came to me and said, "Sweetie, all of this happened because of you." Only a few years later did she explain that my naive question from the park gave her an idea, and she kept researching and researching until she found this strange puppy training secret which turned out to be the catalyst of a relationship. The moment my mom told me this, it gave me a huge, warm satisfaction in my heart that, indeed, I helped rekindle her relationship. That was the same moment that I decided I wanted to help people with their relationships as a living. So I went to college, got my degree in psychology, started counseling couples, and never looked back. I became what many started calling me an underground relationship expert. Underground because, honestly, I never liked the media coverage and stuff. It's just not my style. And although I've been through a ton of research and studies about relationship dynamics, male psychology, and what makes or breaks successful relationships, nothing compares with the power of this little-known puppy trading secret. The results were amazing, and nothing in this world gives me more satisfaction than the letters from my happy customers when they use the secret in their relationships. Take, for example, Natasha from New York. Okay, at first I thought this was offensive. I mean, how could I train my man like a dog to love me? But boy, did I get it all wrong. This has nothing to do with emasculating him. It's just reawakening him to me, the relationship and the wonderful romantic and